You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, MoveWell University, Element Mattresses, MedZone, Vita Chiropractic, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, the Universal Traction System, and Vantage Point Marketing. Let's hustle. Everybody, Jim Chester, your host of Chiro Hustle. Chiro Sushi is our sponsor today, and I have Janice Hughes with me. She is up in Boulder, Colorado, and I am in Grand Junction in the Grand Valley on the western slope of this beautiful state of Colorado, which I like to say, Janice, where nobody lives.
Absolutely. And the best kept secret, and you want to keep it that way.
Except for I go live once a week telling people how awesome it is here.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show. I know that it's been a long time coming to have you on as a guest. We go back several years now. You were in Chiropractic, the documentary with me. And at that point, you didn't know who the heck I was. And I just like, hey, let's talk chiropractic. We're making a film. And I didn't know how many people actually believed that we were actually going to make a film, but we actually followed through and we did it.
Yeah, it was great. And it's been phenomenal to watch you and your career unfold, for you to develop ever since then. Like that's a number of years ago. I'm probably dating myself. I think it's like 6 or 7 years ago, that you were doing all of that. So it's just been really fun to watch. So congratulations on all that you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for, the appreciation. But, without the truth of chiropractic and me seeing that was the future, then I wouldn't have really focused all my attention I wouldn't have pushed all my chips into the middle and said, I'm putting it all in on chiropractic.
Yeah. And we're so lucky, because sometimes our own voices as chiropractors aren't heard. Whereas when we have someone like yourself, some other great people that really are spokespeople for the profession, I think that holds a lot more clout. And so I think that we owe you a great debt of gratitude and thanks.
Yeah, to me, it's not so much about what I can do, but it's how can you and I take this. And I know one of the core conversations we're going to have today is about collaboration and, empowering the woman chiropractor. I think that people that are out there, they better be interested in that stuff, but we're going to explain to them why that's important. And we'll talk to them a little bit about, social positioning and authority positioning with the chiropractor and the state of the matter right now in chiropractic and what we can do to improve upon all those things to where the chiropractor actually becomes the health hero, as your dog's name.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. We're laughing. We were offline just before we got started, and Jim got to hear my dog. I have a very large dog, so you will all get to know him if there is something moving in the neighborhood. You will hear my dog Chiro make noise.
Yeah. So you have a tagline: "Decades of doing things right." What does that mean to you, and how can we explain that to everybody?
Well, it's interesting. It's been an evolution that was actually given to me by someone else. There's a couple of things that have happened in the last couple of years where other people have almost reflected my career back to me. And I think that it's allowed me to sit with it and think about if I was going to use something like that as a tagline. And so for me, what it represents, as other people were reflecting back, I've played multiple roles in this profession. So sort of like yourself, I think me now doing this interview, we could say, oh, well, here's what I'm doing now. But my background for some of your viewers that I don't know was originally as a chiropractor. Even before chiropractic, I was doing other things. So my original background was as a microbiologist. And I was accepted into medical school. And then I deferred that and I did my master's in somatic cell genetic, which is cancer research. And so kind of took this slow boat to China to get into chiropractic. But then obviously I love who we are and what we do. And so my background is a really philosophical chiropractor, being influenced. I have to say one of the biggest influences in my early career was Peter Amlinger, Dr. Amlinger, and people like John DeMartini. And those individuals influenced me to allow me to run an amazing practice. And then I was starting to be asked to speak and teach and do some other things in the profession. And, eventually transitioned as a coach, trained as a business coach. So literally different roles and evolutions than speaking, teaching, and even to the point of leaving the profession. And I don't mean I left chiropractic or being a chiropractor, but leaving on the stage or coaching people directly to do some other business ventures, some entrepreneurial ventures. And then literally it's been this last year now that I've really cycled back as my role in a biotech startup. Basically my role has finished. The project hasn't finished, but my role finished. So sort of coming back. And so I think part of it is me embracing my age and phase and stage of life and career to be able to say it's been decades of doing things, right. And, I've always had a mantra that, do the right things for the right reasons. And so that's where kind of tagging that along with this idea of decades of this. So that's where the tagline has basically come from.
That's really cool. And it's interesting that you said that one of your early influencers was John DeMartini, and he just happens to be in the film with you. Absolutely. That we created. And do you know how I got him to be in the film?
No, sometimes it's always so interesting to me because John pops up in the weirdest places or ways, but no, tell me that piece.
So one of my friends, a dear friend of mine, Eugenia Kroc, she is an astronomer, astrologist. So she reads the stars and all this stuff. And we would hike all the time. And she's like, there's this chiropractic guy that just changed my life. And he made me think differently. And I'm like, well, who is it? And she goes, his name's John DeMartini. And I'm like, well, I don't know who this guy is. And she's like, well, you have to come to this talk he's giving down in Denver. And she lived in Pine, which is this beautiful little city outside of 285, off of 285. And she's like, you have to come see John DeMartini talk. And I'm like, how much is it? But she's like, it's like $35 or something. I'm like, I ain't paying $35 to go see a guy. I can go see any chiropractor talk. And anyways, reluctantly, she drags me there. And I listened. I took 9 pages of notes in a 2-hour talk. And absolutely. What he said at the end of that talk was, towards the end of it was, he said that he was a chiropractor and started talking about the chiropractic philosophies. And I was like, wow, this guy is magnetic. He tells the truth. He can inspire anybody. I don't care if you've been living under a rock and have been away from society. He can inspire anybody to take initiative in themselves.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting, to be able to tap into that, before you were doing as much as you do now in chiropractic. And, your point about John's clarity, he was my first actual, what I would call coach in chiropractic. And so the amount, first of all, the impact on my personal life, but then, he just kept calling more out of me. And I'm so appreciative and thankful. And, the principles that I live my life by are really directly influenced from doing a bunch of John's work.
Well, I'll tell you then at the end of this, I sat there. I waited till everybody went up and shook his hands and bought his books and did everything. I said, hey, Dr. DeMartini, you said one thing towards the end of your talk, and you said that we need more media leverage for chiropractic. As hi, my name is Jim Chester. I'm a very inspired individual, and I'm making a film on chiropractic. Would you like to be in it?
Fabulous.
He paused. He paused for about 5 seconds. He goes, interesting. Here's my room number. He jots it down. He goes, I have availability next Tuesday at 1:00 at the Ritz-Carlton. Come down there. I'll give you an hour of my time.
Yeah, that's amazing. But that's again, just who he is, that, that clarity for him without maybe knowing a ton about you is that, wait a minute, that just fits, that resonates for me. And so absolutely, I'm going to do that.
And so what happened is I showed up and I knocked on his door and I had all my gear with me. And he's like, where's your crew? And I said, I don't have a crew. I run the camera, I do the lights, I make sure the audio is set, and then I ask you the questions too. And he was even further impressed.
Yeah.
And he actually he mentored me for about 45 minutes before we actually even recorded anything, and we just sat there and talked about life and his meetings and where he travels to and all this cool stuff. He asked me where I came from and my background and about my family and all this really interesting stuff, and he got to know me, and then we rolled.
I
But
love it. I love it.
that's how Dr. DeMartini got into chiropractic, the documentary.
Yeah, that's very neat. He's just such a unique individual. And, again, for some that maybe don't know him at this stage of your life or career, absolutely, like, just listen to tidbits or follow some of the people that John has mentored. It's well worth it.
Yeah, I think he's made a profound impact inside the profession, but also outside the profession. He's touched so many lives, and he's still super relevant. And that's the thing that most people, over the course of a career, they lose their relevancy because they become like integrated in their own life. But he's still so interested in developing everyone's life around him while
Absolutely.
doing his own thing.
Yeah, he's on purpose. He's on mission. He's on point. That's just who he is as an individual.
Mm-hmm. So it's cool that he's made a profound impact on both of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's Janice. That's how it happened with talking to Danny Knowles. He's actually the reason why I got to interview you. I called up Danny Knowles. I said, "Hey, Danny, my name is Jim Chester. I'm a very inspired individual. I'm making a film on chiropractic. Would you mind if I came and interviewed the people that are going to be at your seminar?"
That's great. And it's funny because, in the world we talk about how we're only, say, 6 degrees of separation from anyone we'd ever love to meet or know. And you heard me say earlier offline that I believe in chiropractic, we're only 1 degree separated, and it's just that willingness also to call someone up or ask. And that's how, watching your career, you've just been willing to ask people or connect with people. That's a really magical skill.
And I learned this from Patrick Smith, who's also in the film. He told me, "Some will, some won't. So what next?"
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can't beat yourself up when an opportunity doesn't take to you. You just have to keep on going forward in the direction that is the North Star. You just got to keep on going towards what you believe, and you have to stick with it.
Yeah. Great mantra. So if all of our ramblings and chit chat, that's the take home from the whole interview. And it's your own take home.
Yeah. And I learned from that. And, everybody that you come in touch with that is doing great things, one thing can change the course of your life. If you just listen, instead of using so much of this and use more of these. And absolutely. I think that's the other point to this whole thing is use these more than this. Unless that's what you get paid for.
Yeah.
and then make impact on people and say the right things. And don't waste people's time with saying the wrong things to them, because there's plenty of people that are saying the wrong things.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay your course. Know your path.
Exactly. And that's what we talked about at this last Mile High, just stay the course. And that's really why the people have become trustworthy to me, is because I proved that I was going to stay the course of this whole deal. And now look what we're doing. We're sharing the chiropractic message. And my philosophy now is having chiropractic live outside the 4 walls of chiropractic.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where we need to take this message, is not for just the chiropractor, the patient base, and the people at the seminars. We need chiropractic to live outside the 4 walls of chiropractic to become a consumer-based, a system that's consumer-based. And the consumer doesn't know why they need it.
Yeah. And then that helps to guide our role. It took me going outside of the profession for some of the projects that I was working on in the business world to really recognize how insulated we are in those 4 walls in chiropractic. And, so some of those outside perspectives are why I am really excited to be back again with my focus now on projects in chiropractic and mentoring and coaching and speaking again to people in the profession. We're the best kept secret in town. We really are. And a lot of individual chiropractors are maybe in their community, but in healthcare, in the public domain, we're one of the best kept secrets in town.
I agree. And just honestly, people don't know where to go or who to trust for their health concerns. And they don't know chiropractic's the right choice.
Yeah. Yet. And
Yes.
that's why you're doing these, podcasts. And that's why, we're all talking about the role of media within the profession and, what that can do for people within their own individual practices as well. So I think it's really exciting from that perspective.
And now what you see, Janice, is everybody starting to show up little by little by little by little. And everybody's trying to get on this momentum machine. And they're trying to see, like, how can I make an influence with not only my practice members, but how can I get to that stage that all those people that are loved get a chance to talk to their colleagues. Like that's really where people are like, if I just do enough of this, I'll get to that stage. And I think honestly, that's where people are right now is they realize that them having a cell phone, they are their own media company and chiropractic is their brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And use your voice well. Use your voice really well, speaking your truth, talking chiropractic, not watering that down, not being afraid or embarrassed, and then often I know if I talk about these decades in the profession, there were so many things I said wrong in the beginning, but I was just brave enough. I was willing to be brave enough to speak. And so then sometimes we do have to say some of the wrong things to learn or to hone our message. But you're right. Like now our cell phones, we're all our own media companies.
Mm-hmm. And people have to think of it that way. I mean, there's a guy down there in Woodland Park named Scott Little. And he took to my mentorship like a year ago. He was calling me up when he was still living in, I think he was in St. Louis. And I think it was Indiana or St. Louis, anywhere. He was out there in the Midwest somewhere, and he would call me up and he would ask me like, "Hey, what should I do to get more involved, and how can I get my message out there at a higher level?" And now you see that guy everywhere. He's showing up. He's doing engagements in his community. Like he's becoming a known entity in the chiropractic profession because I was like, look, do this, and have these be your benchmarks. And every time you get a chance to knock one down, put a new goal on there. And then the next thing you know, the guy's running his own podcast now. He's doing Facebook Lives all the time. He's growing his practice leaps and bounds down in Woodland Park. And I'm just really proud of that guy. I mean,
absolutely.
And at that point, I'm like, who the heck am I to mentor people? And anyways, it worked.
And again, that goes back to what I was saying about do the right things for the right reasons, And so then Scott, from what I hear, is also mentoring a whole bunch of other young practitioners, and so that's where that's for me, this next piece in my career is really about a lot of that mentorship and helping and seeding ideas, collaborating with others that are really in that same energy and mindset. Because, I'd love for us to have a shift. One of the things I see chiropractic in the same place that it was 10 years ago and 20 years ago. And that part makes me sad. It's almost like me throwing my hat in the ring and saying, how can I help to change that? Because if we don't get shifting some things, what's going to happen is we're again going to keep being in this same position.
So let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about what you're doing. I know you said that you're doing some coaching and you're doing some collaboration. First, let's talk about the coaching aspect of how you're helping the chiropractor get more certainty and be able to help themselves to help more people.
Well, there's a few roles. Coaching again comes in different kinds of packages. It can be one-on-one coaching. It can be group coaching. For me, my background as a coach is asking people a lot of questions. So there's a lot of ways to do that. The first place is that I'm just really dipping in and connecting in as many places as I can in the social media world and offering input or insights by just asking questions and then being available for random phone calls or random connects. And, that's where even one of the things that, again, people after may have questions, either you just put it down in the comments here in this Facebook Live, or just reach out to me, send me a message through Messenger. And, so that's sort of what I would call the more informal aspect of it. A more formal approach is that I have come back to being ready to coach some individuals one-on-one. But again, like it has to be a really right fit for me. I'm not opening up another company. I'm not doing all of that. I'm just doing some one-on-one business and executive coaching. And that's because in the biotech, in my role in biotech, I was really coaching a lot of women CEOs. And so I love that facet, and I love helping and supporting other women. One of my passion projects is that as I was involved in the biotech, my role was to raise money. And it's so interesting because I wouldn't have said that I had my own money baggage, because I had established a practice and then really learned to ask and value my care and ask for fees for that. Even in the coaching realm, I was really confident and comfortable asking people to pay me significant dollars, or the companies I was involved with. But then when it suddenly came to asking people for hundreds of thousands of dollars or eventually millions of dollars, it was like, wow, I have a lot to learn. And so my background is I've always hired coaches in my own life. So I found mentors, I hired coaches, and I really worked to figure out and almost pull together some of the principles and concepts and ideas about money and about our money thinking. So last spring, I just woke up one day and said, oh, it's about money mindset. And so basically that's where I started a new Facebook page about money mindset, and have laid down a couple of online courses that are launching this spring about money mindset. And so that's a passion project for me, because number one, I think it's one thing even in chiropractic for people to get confident and talk about who they are and what they do. Now it's a whole other skill set to ask for the money for that, to be paid, to value your care. So one tip in that, if I can kind of plant a seed for people, is that sort of a real take home for me is that I just used to learn to say to people when they'd say, oh, I can't afford that kind of healthcare, I can't pay for that outside of my, policies. I would say, well, first of all, you can't afford not to. But as far as my services, that I give you my adjustment. What you're paying for is my clinical expertise. You're paying for my diagnostic ability. You're paying for me as a primary care practitioner to help guide you with your health. And then I give you my gift, which is the adjustment. That's and so right beautiful. Away, like how do people argue with that? So suddenly it got money out of the chiropractic issue. So that's a passion project for me. Is I'd love to see chiropractors doing well, chiropractors learning how to build wealth. And, one facet of that is I really have been working with a lot of really seasoned practitioners, talking to them about the mindset of a 10-year exit plan. And what I mean by that is not leaving practice, but being in a financial place where you get to choose to get up and go and serve every day. And there's not a lot of our profession that's in that place. So number one, I really want to help some of the young docs get more established with money and money mindset. Some of the doctors that, if we're not careful, almost feel like they've built a job for themselves. We need to shift that mindset. And then I also really want to shift and get more people in that position where they're just choosing to go into practice because they love it, not because they have to continue to generate money for their lifestyle.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession.
This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, MoveWell University, Element Mattresses, MedZone, Vita Chiropractic, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, the Universal Traction System, and Vantage Point Marketing. Let's hustle. That's really cool. I think earlier you told me, you're like, if you have any questions, just ask me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the position that you have now for everyone. If they have a question or if they need some type of guidance or resource, just ask you.
Yeah. And the beauty is now, after all these decades, I know so many people in chiropractic. And, that's even where that's really fueling that word that I was telling you about, collaboration. I've been really excited to collaborate just with sort of this idea of just a free download with Pam Jarboe and Nicole Lindsay, and collaborating with some other women in online courses and projects. And I'm new to all of this, and luckily have some great coaches and mentors in my own life. The collaboration piece was what I learned in the biotech world. So for example, our CEO is a female chiropractor, and literally getting into business and leadership and entrepreneurial women, what I started to find is how much we all shared resources. So when you're raising money, a lot of times it's counterintuitive to think about taking the people that have put money into your company and giving them to someone else. But a couple of our largest investors came from another female CEO of her own entrepreneurial venture, introducing us to her investors and basically sharing investors. And so it's so different, this concept of collaboration. And I'm really excited to think about more of that in chiropractic, and just different kinds of people and projects that are out there that we could all start supporting each other and collaborating. And that's my question these days. How can I help you? I might not have the answers, but I probably am only 1 degree separated from somebody that probably has that answer for you.
That's the coolest thing is typically I really have to work hard to interview people. And it seems like I have prepped you so well in our off camera that you are so like in tune with where to take this whole conversation, because collaboration, mentorship, coaching, I think that's you're hitting the ball every time now. Like it's not missing. You're not missing the ball ever. You're just constantly hitting. And I think that's the part where most people want to be is, when we think about chiropractic, we think about selling the adjustment.
Yeah.
Not giving the adjustment and being a business-minded practitioner. And the business-minded practitioner will be the one that always wins. The one that consistently thinks that they have to sell the adjustment. Those are the ones that are going to whittle their hands down, and they're not going to be happy in practice.
Yeah, it is. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, or it's a cycle, and it's how do I do a few of those things to shift my mindset so that I play in a different sandbox, so that I approach this differently. I have more fun. And, it sounds so crazy when I say to younger practitioners, like, just do things you love, like have fun, set your practice up, do your marketing events that are something that you love. If you don't love doing talks, well, then let's find some things that you do love, or ways for you to network that don't feel like they're painful. Because every time you feel painful going in to do a talk, first of all, there's some great coaches that could help you with the speaking, but if you're going in there dreading every moment of it, now you're not even attracting the right kind of people. So one of the things kind of before your time, I used to really speak a lot from stage about the 28 laws of chiropractic attractability. And I really think that kind of a next piece for me is even laying down like a little online class or some webinars about that, because that's a really fun, different kind of energy, just doing things that fulfill you, doing things that feel great, that have your vibration be great, because then you're attracting the next right things for yourself. And I think that that's so important for our profession. I hate to say it, but I think we're still continuing to attract a lot of the same things. Mm-hmm. And I think that, my vision is that we shift that. And the exciting part is we have so many amazing women in the profession that just haven't really been highlighted yet or featured yet. And some of that, like, I know that there's this big thing about, well, there's not enough women on stage, there's not enough women doing things. And that whole, I'll call it debate, reality is there's a lot of amazing women that have just been busy building great practices, living amazing lives, and doing a lot of things with kids or significant others or friends, and really just haven't had the time, to be on a stage or to, hone that craft. But we have a lot of really amazing, powerful women in the profession. So I'm just really excited to support them and feature them and really shine a light on a lot of them.
And honestly, Janice, that's what we're doing too. is
Yeah.
we're hosting you today. In the future, we do have something with Nicole Lindsay.
That's great.
We've already had Pam Jarboe on, and we just dropped Iram Tahir's episode,
Yeah.
and we dedicated actually the first 4 months. I know that's not like a long time, but we've only been a podcast now for 7 months. So we've dedicated 4 months out of our 7 months to sharing the voice of the woman chiropractor. And I think that it's not so much for me to say, "Hey, look, guys, I'm hosting all these amazing women." But what I can tell you is now we're giving some of these unsung heroes, like I was talking to you off of camera, that we're speaking to women that might not want the stage, but they want this, and they want to talk from a distance, and they want to make influence to the tribe from a Facebook Live interview instead of saying, "Hey, I want to travel there and I want to have everybody recognize me. I want everybody to fill the seats in front of me." But sometimes we can make just as much impact if we just tell our story.
Absolutely.
And then, like I said to you earlier, it gives people that self-esteem. It gives them that momentum trained inside of their heart, knowing that somebody's appreciating them. And it might be this one interview that I do with one of these young chiropractic women students that gives them all the confidence in the world to carry on and to have this amazing career. When nobody else is interested in talking to them, they're like, "I did this interview with Jim Chester on that Chiro Hustle thing, and it gave me all the confidence to go do more talks. It gave me all the confidence to be the next that hits that stage." And I think that we don't realize what type of potential we have just having a chiropractic conversation like this, Janice. Somebody out there is listening right now that needed to hear those business principles of collaboration and coaching and mentorship. And it doesn't have to be a coaching business. You can just take calls from people. I can't tell you, Janice, how many calls I've taken over the past 6 months from people that are just like, "What can I do to market? Yeah, I know that you have this stuff figured out. What can I do to get, like Scott Little? What can I do to get a podcast going? How can I do something to make myself bigger than myself?" Well, I don't know if I have all the answers, but I'm sure as heck going to take some time out of my life and say, "Oh, you're interested? I'm going to let you have some of my time, and hopefully I can make some influence on you that will make a profound impact down the line." Now,
that's what I mean by doing the right things for the right reasons, helping. And, it's interesting because a lot of people think that, now it's just interviewing women or supporting women because it's a fad, and it's so interesting. I think we have to go through different evolutions of it where, years ago, even in my early stages of practice, I had some great mentors, and even my husband, who's a chiropractor, talking about, helping other women, mentoring other women. And just honestly, when was I going to do that? At 4:00 in the morning? Because literally between big volume practice, raising, 3 sons, like I used to do up in Canada, some politics in the profession, like it was just like, that was not in my bandwidth. And then even over the years in the coaching world, and then also Dr. Reekman talked to me years ago about, again, mentoring and working with more women. And it's only almost now that at this stage of my life and career that I have more time. But you're right. See, media helps all women, and women's voices are different. It's not a better, it's not one is right or the other's wrong. We do things differently. We hear things differently. And that's the power of other women's voices in a young woman's life or a female practitioner's life. And so, I think that this isn't new for me. This isn't something that I'm doing because there's now just Facebook groups. I think that it's at the stage after decades of doing this that now I have that bandwidth and the ability to pick up the phone when it rings. Or what I love about Facebook Messenger, that is the fastest, easiest way just to reach out to me. And I'm happy to connect and help people so that I also gain from that. That's the key thing here.
Me
the
too.
idea of collaboration, whether it's collaborating on some projects like downloads and ebooks or conversations like this, that I gain from every conversation. And that's the part I miss about the old seminar days when we used to have seminars of 5,000 people. That like I loved being part of that era where I got to hug a lot of people and connect with a lot of people. And the good news is media's really opened that up again. So by all means, let's just keep helping others. Let's keep collaborating and coming up with other ideas. So, my question to you is just to keep thinking, how can I help you and how can I help your network too?
Well, it goes back to the old premise of I have to give to get, and you can't outgive the giver. And if I keep on giving content and I keep on giving the platform, then I get. Undoubtedly, I get, because now I get a relationship with you. And I used to tell people this all the time. Hey, guess what? When XYZ chiropractor is going to pick their daughter or son up from soccer practice on Friday at 4 p.m. and they see my number come across the phone and it says Jim Chester on there, I guess who's going to answer that phone call? It's going to be that person I built that relationship with that says, I value this man because of what he's done for this profession. He must have something that I need to either answer for him, or he wants to tell me, or he might just want to have a chat with me for 10 minutes. But I'm going to pick his call up.
Yeah, so absolutely.
That's the whole idea of what I did and why I did it the way I did it. It's almost like a magic wand. Like, I'm like, what can I do to interact with this beautiful profession? That's what I call it. I played soccer 22 years, and that's called a beautiful sport. And I said, you know what? Chiropractic's the beautiful profession. And how can I interact with something that is so darn beautiful that I can then meet the leaders in something that has almost been like, I think the chiropractic profession's been a little disgruntled over the past 3 decades. And after the insurance game went down, people are like, well, what do we do? How do we keep ourselves afloat? And then I came into this positioning with the chiropractor, and I go, well, I think you guys all have something brilliant to say. I think you guys all have the ability to change people's lives on a day-to-day basis. And if you guys could adjust 24 hours a day, you guys should be. But I know that you guys have families and you guys have personal lives outside of the practice. But I do see the chiropractic as the beautiful profession. And I do believe that I've put myself into a position to be connected with the leaders in the most beautiful profession on earth. And
well said.
I feel lucky, but luck didn't come without a lot of hard work. And
absolutely. That's what, I laugh, that some of the amazing overnight successes in chiropractic have been silently working behind the scenes for the last 15 years. So there is no such thing as kind of just that luck. It's where opportunity meets preparation. And it's based on the discipline of all the things that we do and have been working on for a long time.
And it's a culmination of effort. And it just means that you have to give to get, but you also have to stay consistent by getting and giving. And I think that that's where it all kind of does this, is it brings us into this mindset of, if I just keep on doing what I know that I'm good at and people appreciate what I'm good at, then I can just keep on doing what I love. And talking about chiropractic is, obviously, if you guys watch me all the time, I love to do this stuff. So I love to collaborate. And that's another big part of our conversation today, is collaboration.
Absolutely.
Now, at the end of this year, I'm going to have put out 365 collaborative interviews with people in the chiropractic profession that I love. And now I collaborated on a maximum level. I've networked on a maximum level. And now we're putting out more content than anybody else in the chiropractic world. And people are eventually going to say, wow, bravo. How do I get on the next one?
Yeah. It's interesting. I want to do a call out to a couple of people that I know that have been watching the live. And Tim, Dr. McFadden, had put, again, this great quote: you can get what you want out of life by helping others get what they want out of life. That's a classic Zig Ziglar. And that's great. I think, posting those things, posting more of that, that's what builds a practice. And that's what builds what you're doing. That's what's built this amazing multiple roles that I've gotten to play in the profession. So thanks, Dr. Tim, for posting that.
Yeah, and let's walk down the line a little bit and recognize a couple of people that have commented in, and say thank you to them as well. We have Nicole Lindsay. She says, yes, exit strategy. exit strategy is in place. Thank you, Janice. Thank you for being a role model and mentor, which I think, also for me, thank you for being a role model and mentor. And I think that so many people can learn from you, from your decades of experience. And you say decades of doing things right. And I think that that's just, it's the limelight that you have because of your consistency in the marketplace. And we have Barbara Eaton, who has the 56-day chiropractic boot camp. She goes, "Hey, you two, thank you for all you have done and continue to do for the chiropractic profession." And I know Barbara's a rock star out there. And she just continuously keeps on showing up.
Yeah.
And
it is that discipline, like these names that we're already talking about here. I mean, each of them, they in their lives, in their practices, and then in the speaking, in the mentoring and coaching others. I mean, I guess that's where like attracts like. So, it's really important to acknowledge them.
So at this point, I want to ask you one more question. And I want to ask you, where do you see the chiropractic profession in the next 5 years? And where do you see them positioning themselves like right now to be able to help more people and to serve bigger?
Right now is media, is speak your truth. And even if you don't say it right, say it, in your communities, like on Facebook Lives, and stop worrying about ourselves. How do I look, or what is my exact wording? Like, just open your mouth. Because for me, I see, unfortunately, that we're sort of in the same place we've been, like I say, for the last 10 and 15 and 20 years for our impact, our influence. Now, some people out there have really big practices. I get that. But I just mean, have we really moved the needle? And it is time now. And media and a lot of these young, very vibrant practitioners coming out have way more experience. You have so many more opportunities than I ever did. You used to have to walk door to door or face to face, and the reach and the impact that you can have is spectacular. So I embrace the millennials. I embrace the next generation, even coming in after the millennials. And you guys are all teaching me, continue to help me be more tech savvy, and like, let's all like make this change. And so it is right now, because otherwise, shame on us if 5 years down the pipe, we're in the same place that we have been. I love this profession too much. So that's where collaboration and let's get our voices out there.
100%. And at this juncture, is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
No, I think we've shared a lot and rambled.
But it's been fun. And
yeah. Thanks for the great conversation.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is to keep on putting out more concept and more ideas and more togetherness and more collaboration, and talk about the mentorship, talk about what we're not doing right, talk about what we can do to make it better, talk about where the puck's going and not where it is. We can talk about so many different things. We can talk about education, maybe some struggles that we've been through personally, maybe some of the reasons why we position ourselves the way we do, and the opportunities that we get by doing it that way. And I think that, and if anybody does watch this and they do listen, they're going to have some takeaways as to some will, some won't. So what next? And you can't get beat up about somebody else's feelings about you. You can just start building your own self-esteem up by believing in yourself and that you're doing the right things. Yeah.
Speak your truth. Do the right things for the right reasons. And, becoming detached from the outcome. It's not about whether that person comes to see you. It's about the clear, clean message that you're giving out. So you're right. There's a lot of gems through this. So thanks again for the fabulous conversation.
Yeah. And if any of you do have questions after this is aired, and you do have questions for Janice or myself, put those into the comments, and we aren't going to leave any of you hanging. We're going to respond back to you, and maybe you're a little bit reluctant to put it into the live chat feed there. Send us a personal message. Like she said, Messenger is the best way to get through to both of us. So if you do have questions that you want, or just to say hello, we're pretty social, and I always tell people, be social on social. So we're happy to talk to each and every one of you if you do want to get in touch with either of us, or if you do have a question for someone else that we might be attached to.
Absolutely.
Use us as the segue to get your questions asked or answered by the appropriate person. And I just want to say thank you again to Chiro Sushi for being the sponsor of this episode. If you guys aren't going to Chiro Sushi, you guys are missing out. Dr. Janice and I will be there. You guys can get a cool picture with both of us, and I'll be doing Facebook Live interviews there as well. So if you missed out on getting on with one of these interviews with me, maybe I can do one with you in person.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, have a wonderful day, and thanks again for the great opportunity and conversation.
Yeah, enjoy Boulder, Colorado, and I look forward to seeing you next.
Absolutely. Have a great
All
day.
right. See you.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.